and I, we are Lakers fan. And yesterday, my Chelsea won the Club World Cup, and we are celebrating. But with all that said, we still have to hold our end of the bargain. We have to be here every Sunday to discuss issues in Liberia. I am Jerome Gamer, your host, and my equally or even more talented co-host is George Tule out of Canada. We are going to be discussing a lot of issues today. George, how are you doing? Your end of the bargain over there.
I'm doing excellent. I'm doing excellent as usual. This is a great opportunity to discuss issues that are very pertinent and important to our people. Our whole goal is to create a discourse, a narrative that will help to lift up every Liberian, and that's what that is why we are here, and that's our aim, to be people that will motivate us nationally. We will speak to issues, but we'll also make sure we offer workable, reasonable solutions. So I'm happy to be here. Welcome to all of those who are already tuned in. We appreciate you. Thank you.
Yes, as usual, Liberia has never been lacking when it comes to current events. There are a lot of issues going on as we speak. We're going to discuss some of those issues. As usual, we have a platitude of issues. I know you get a lot of suggestions in your inbox and on issues that people would like to see or people would like to hear. So am I here. But we are very cautious when we do the selection of topics. Some of the things that are burning on the ground, and some of the issues that we pick today, hopefully, it will actually captivate the folks, and they will join in the discussion. But let's go from the top here. We are starting today with the dedication of the Executive Mansion. The Executive Mansion renovations have been in the work for the past 15 years. There are a lot of folks who will be asking me and you, what has happened to the millions of dollars that have been allocated for the renovation of that particular building? Why did it take this long for us to get our building back? I'm talking about the taxpayers. Millions and millions of dollars been going to that building since it was set ablaze or since it got gutted by fire 2006. We want to talk about the money that have been appropriated, how that money was spent, and how come we are just getting this executive mansion in the 15th year of renovation. The second thing on the agenda actually is the Bicentennial. As you know, is the biggest thing in Liberia now. The festivities started last month, and it officially begins, I guess, tomorrow, the 14th. We have President Biden sends his delegation, and they got some great names on there. While we are also dealing with the issues in the Crimea area there, Kiev and the possible Russian invasion. So there's a lot going on. For the president to have sent a delegation to Liberia means a whole lot. We want to know what is the role of the opposition in this whole bicentennial. What are they doing? We want to know what is it that the opposition is doing with the bicentennial. And then number 3 on that list is this particular warning from the former senator from Maryland County, Mr. Ballard, that warns boycott by leaving the CPP basically is a death sentence. And he thinks a boycott leaves the CPP, according to him, is going to be a landslide. It's going to be a major loss. It's going to be massive. The loss is going to be massive. And the question some of us are asking is, nobody have ever asked this question. Nobody have ever warned us, because even Vice President Boyka himself said this a couple of years ago, maybe a few months ago, when he went over that and said, no one party can win any elections in Liberia, whether it is CDC, UP, whatever. No singular party can win an election. There has to be collaboration. There has to be partnership. So how could this be? And number 4 on that list is Musa Ability invasion of Grand Bassa County. This morning, he was in Grand Bassa County touring. He had a massive press conference. He's building a new headquarters.
You had a press conference. How was that massive?
Well, then he also announced that he's building a new radio station 600 megawatts of transmission that will cover the Bassa Belt. That is Grand Bassa, River Cess, Magibie, Lower Bond, Lower Nima County, and so forth. So this is where we are at this point. And these are the topics that we're going to be discussing. Mr. Tule, it is your choice. Where do we begin?
We arranged it. The ability issue for me is a non-issue. It's a waste of time.
Okay, so let's go to number one. Let's go to the dedication of the executive mansion.
Yeah. The dedication of the executive mansion is it has been in the works. And there have been a stated intention to renovate the building, but Manasari didn't want to sit in that building. That's the reason why she didn't renovate it. No other reason. But they used that as an opportunity to steal. We all know that Manasari was terribly corrupt, but she did it with class. And because she had the backing and the goodwill of the international community, they were able to cover her and give her awards for stealing our money and messing our country up. She didn't want to sit in the building because the prevailing opinion at that time was that building was jinxed. It was a cursed building, and that's the reason why they set the building alight. There wasn't no reason. It didn't happen by mistake. Apart from that, again, to her, it presented a security risk to be in that environment. See, the protective bubble was easier to maintain at the foreign affairs because it's a small environment, right, with limited exit and entry points. The protective bubble and the whole mechanism that needs to be put into place to create the safety for the principal at the executive mansion is a whole different ball game. It cannot be like it was in the 60s when it was built, or in the 70s. No, it has to be upgraded to modding. They have to be able to seal some places up. They have to do a lot to keep that building safe. And because of those things, the president felt that was one of the reasons because they were just transitioning and security was a serious concern. When she first came to power, she had these State Department or how you call it SRT guys attached to her working, so security detachment. So they felt that it was too open for her safety, so they wanted to move to a place that they could keep that had limited access points. So they did that. They just used that opportunity to keep stealing. Okay, they kept stealing money because they knew they had no intention of renovating the building. It wasn't difficult to renovate the building. They built while that building was not renovated. They completed the what's the name of the place? The central bank. They completed the central bank while that building was still being budgeted for every year. So it was just on a means to steal, a means for her to be corrupt. That's all. But she didn't want to stay there because they also said the building had, like I said, was jinxed. It was a cursed building. They had demons walking the halls or whatever. So they have killed so many people in that place. Manasari was afraid of her own shadow. She was afraid of the coup that she brought and the other crisis that she brought. So she was afraid for the blood of the innocent that she caused to be spilled to chase her from her office. So she didn't want to stay in that place. That's why.
Well, Mr. Tule, you are a member. You were a member of the Unity Party.
I have never. Hold on.
Well, I understand. No, what I'm saying here.
No.
You were a member of the Liberty Party, right? Okay, you are a member of the Liberty Party, but in extension, your uncle or your grandfather or your granduncle, Boykai, that was the vice president of the past administration, was also a part of this massive stealing you are talking about. If you are saying that the Ellen administration, I don't know if you are talking about the Ellen herself or you are talking about the administration, then I suppose you are talking about the administration that included Joseph Boykai. Wouldn't it be so?
But you see again, you always have the habit of putting mixing issues and putting square pegs in round hole. Let me help you here. Joseph Boakai made a statement to the Liberian people that he was a parked car for all the 12 years. And everybody say, oh, no, you should have resigned. You shouldn't have stayed in power. You should have done this. You should have done that. It's easy to say you should have because you were not in the same position. But I will say this to you. Joseph Boakai, like the current vice president now of the government, has nothing to do with the running of the government. Manaseli will only invite him. The powers that the vice president possesses, or the power that the vice president can exert, is only given to them by the office of the presidency. If the president, despite the constitutional fiduciary duties assigned to that office, that those duties are only available to be performed by that second principle, because the first gives them the right to do that. Well, Boakai, I'm not going to argue and belabor this issue, but I'm telling you today that Joseph Boakai, the only use spelling had for him, apart from those that were created by the Constitution, he didn't run the government. He had no budgetary inputs or no expenditure inputs, nothing. It was just he was just vice president, simple. And he
Mr. Tule, you are an intelligent person. We all are intelligent folks. Joseph Boakai, we know him to be an advocate. We know him to be a statesman. We know him to be a highly educated, trained politician. Yeah. He's been in politics for a long time. You cannot tell me that Joseph Boakai saw wrong and didn't vouch for the people that he represented, the people that elected him. You want to tell me that Joseph Boakai divorced himself, or you are divorcing Joseph Boakai from the massive corruption that he was a part of, and he even admitted that we squandered. He said we squandered. We ate, basically, in a layman term, we ate all the money. He said,
hold on. The man cannot come now in this age and day and say, I wasn't part of the government. But we're talking about power. That is, you just alluded to us being educated and smart enough to understand and establish and draw dichotomies between holding a place and having actual executive power. Joseph Boakai did not have any executive power. Nobody can tell you that they ever consulted with Joseph Boakai regarding budget in Liberia. And I can tell you that I'm aware of Amara Kone being disrespectful to Joseph Boakai on many occasions. And nothing could be done about it. Joseph Boakai, even his own expenditure money, hold on, he gotta send people to finance ministry to pass his voucher for him to get his own expenditure money. Bro, let me be honest with you. The same thing Joseph Boakai went through is the same thing that the first lady, the vice president currently goes through. And guess what? The failure of the George Weah government, the failures, she will own it. Even though she has nothing to do with what McGee and Tuai are doing, she will also own it. Okay, because she's part of the coalition, she's vice president. So let's be honest here. You know what I hate? I hate being disingenuous.
Well,
disingenuous. Hold on, sir. You come in. Disingenuous says, I know the realities, but I put up a spin. You are a Republican, so it's something that is common to the Republicans, right? Putting spin to realities and flipping the script to suit their narrative. That's disingenuous, big brother. It's unfair, but you know what? It's common with you.
Mr. C, my very brilliant co-host, and I respect him when I think Rush Limbaugh was still alive. He would hire him to be he would be member of the band we used to call the Spinners. You are a very good spinner. Mr. C, how do you divorce a man who had a $2.1 million budget every year for 12 years, who enjoyed the largesse of the office of vice president? He has pictures all over the place when he visited the White House, and he was received by the former president, and he was eating caviar. All of a sudden now that we are pressing him to the table, his uncle, his cousins, his nephew are saying, oh no, they treated my uncle so badly that the scars around his back from the beating he took, he shouldn't be held responsible. Mr. C, educate us here, because I know you have put us some of the budget in the past.
That is true. I look at nearly every budget from the time I started following politics, to be specific, from 2000 and 10th, I've been able to look at every budget up to the current one that just passed. And I heard Tule saying that Mr. Bwaka had no input in the budget. I'm paraphrasing him here. That's why he said. That is not true. Mr. Bwaka has significant input in the budget. If you go to the budget, they are on the Ministry of Finance website. You can download them. Mr. Bwaka signed nearly every budget that the Ellen administration passed. His signature there. I'm not telling you they say. Mr. Bwaka affixed his signature on every budget that was passed during the Ellen Johnson Sirleaf administration. That was the first time I got to know that, oh, vice president who have to sign the budget. I thought that only the president had to. Doing my research, I realized that Mr. Bwaka signed nearly every budget. So that goes to say that when you are signing a document, you read it. Because when you put your signature on it, you agree with everything therein. Tule agree with me. Just like almost every Liberian government, the budgets are never in the interest of the people. So for Mr. Bwaka, who is on record for saying, love Liberia, I will just start to the love. Let's forget about the bill because no one's ever built anything for our people. Let's start with the love. How you
That's
love?
the wrong premise. If somebody have built stuff for our people, don't build stuff for our people. So that's a wrong premise. I'll hold you there. I'll come back to that point. Go ahead.
And I can't fight that. Tule, if things were being built by our leaders, I think we'll be in a much better place.
We destroyed them.
You agree with me that Tule, you in Canada, you are saying we see infrastructure in your little city you live in, my city. We see the infrastructure. That is what I'm speaking to. I'm not naive to say that not a single thing was being built, but if you look at the quality, if you look at the money they use to build those things, and you look at what they take for themselves, literally you will say that is nothing. That's what I'm saying. So let me go back to my point I was making. So Mr. Bwaka cannot say he loved Liberia when he signed every budget. In every budget there was, what was allotted to his own county of Lofa County for county development was very insignificant. He was netting more than $2 million for his personal budget. But what was set aside for Lofa County for development was far less. So he did not show Lofa. May I end, Tule? I never interrupted you, my brother. Mr. Bwaka did not show Lofa love before talking about the whole of Liberia. Now, the largesse you spoke about, if anybody enjoyed the largesse of government, that person is Mr. Bwaka, because they want to build us to believe that he was doing nothing. So let us agree he was doing nothing. He was not involved. And yet he was earning this 2 million plus.
He wasn't
as
earning
his
2
budget.
million. That's a categorical lie.
He was getting 2 million.
Establish a lie. His office budget has to do with everything. It's not his money. His salary comes out of that money. I agree. But it's for his staff. It's for his staff, and it's for all their amenities and everything. The operation budget for his office. So it's not him. He's not earning.
So may I continue after you return your chairpoint and I accept your chairpoint, but I'll make my point.
It's disingenuous for you to establish misinformation upon misinformation. Go ahead.
And today I'm not here to fight. I'm here to make my point, and I respect your disagreement. I'm saying to you, Mr. Bwaka received a budget in a tune of over 2 million, nearly for the 12 years he was in power. That is a fact, and he had controlled that money, and that's the point that I'm making, and everybody will agree with me. And if you look at
that's another lie. That's not true. He doesn't control the money. The budget is for his office, but the portions that are supposed to be used for gasoline for these different things, it's not his to control.
So what Mr. Tule is telling us is simply that even President Ellen Johnson Sirleaf was not in control whenever the budget had passed, when in fact the executive branch of government, according to the structure of our government, is responsible for the implementation, for the execution of the budget. That is what Tule is telling me. And I'm educated enough to know that I'm telling the truth. I don't have to listen to Tule's explanation.
No, but there are certain lies. There are certain lies that you just parroting points that are not true.
So let me conclude my point.
Go ahead.
So let me conclude my point. Mr. Boaka has had the greatest opportunity of his lifetime to serve our country. If you compare the service that he provided for our country and our people, and the service that he provided for himself, for him to enjoy, what he gave to our people is nothing. I submit.
No. I'm supposed to come in because you know why?
Come on with your rebuttal. Come on with your rebuttal. Go ahead.
I will come in.
After you interrupted with your rebuttal, now you're going to come with your official rebuttal?
No, it's not even official rebuttal. I have the right to
go ahead.
Because the first thing about it is that we're talking about the executive mansion. I established some things. It turns into another Boaka bashing opportunity. So let me respond. You said that Boaka signed, it was part of his function to put a signature on the budget that his boss agreed to. The thing you fail to realize is that Boaka was not an advocate vice president. He wasn't there to advocate to become an activist, not advocate, to become an activist vice president. That if I don't get my way, I will now affix my signature to this thing. That would be a dereliction of his duty. Okay, the budgets that she has been almost an absent vice president, but she still got to sign the budget when it's brought to her office. It's part of the performance of her fiduciary duty. So it doesn't mean that she fully agrees with it, but that's what her boss wants. And it has been passed by the national legislature. Who is she to say she's not going to affix her signature to something that the national legislature had already passed? Both houses agreed to, and it has been passed. And then it will come to her office and say, no, I disagree with this. I'm not going to fix my signature, or Boaka will not do that. Yeah, everybody knows that the man was vice president for 12 years. And everybody knows that being vice president for 12 years, he enjoyed the amenities of the office. Of course, trappings of the office, security, personal security. Boaka stayed in his same house. He never built a mansion to move in. It's a one-level home he still owns till today. He had personal security. He had on-mail attached to him, personal security attached to him. Those are trappings of the office. You can't fault a man for being in the place that he was. The president asked him to contest with her as vice president. He started contesting with her, but Manasari had a nefarious mindset from the beginning. She wanted to control everybody. So those who had, let me say it this way. She shifted people around because they disagree with her. Anthony Said was basically kicked out of office because she disagreed with her. She didn't want the president running things from the executive mansion. So because of that, she broke up with Anthony Said. Olubanke was taken from one ministry to the next just to minimize her influence. Okay, I was there. I saw these things. I interacted with these people, so I know what I'm talking. Where we are with Boaka. Boaka had an office. He had a position in the government. That is undeniable. I'm not here to say he wasn't vice president, but I'm telling you that the vice president is a ceremonial position. Even in the Senate, the vice president is only a tiebreaker. The vice president is not even part of the daily deliberation of plenary. He cannot even carry, even Kamala Harris cannot even have anything to do with the daily deliberation that Chuck Schumer runs. I'm just saying American or legislative operations. In Liberia, it's even worse. Okay, the Senate pro tempore runs everything. The vice president only comes in when there's a tie. The vice president is only just there to sign.
Mr. Tule, let me push back on here.
Yeah.
First of all, I am part of a major corporation, and it is structured just like the presidency, just like the republic. Every department sends in their budget. The executive just don't appropriate budgetary fund to somebody. Every department sends in their budget. Mm-hmm. Joseph Boaka went through his office and said, this is what I will need to run my office. So there is no denying. So don't tell me he had no input.
He had no input.
He sent his budget. The money you saw in that budget, Joseph Boaka requested it. And it was granted. So you cannot divorce himself from the budgetary process. The president did nothing. He requested that money. He got the money. So Joseph Boaka is in charge. He's spending money. And if we were to audit, we will audit him because that's what he requested. That's what he got. And whether he built houses or not, We have nothing to do with it. I visited
you
him.
heard-
What I placed what I call rehab where he laid. It has nothing to do with his money. He received that money over 12 years and did absolutely nothing. And
It
the
wasn't a
office
crime?
of the Vice President Joseph Boykai, I don't know whether I should call him Ambassador Boykai or I should call him Major General Boykai because he was a major during the Dome regime. We have pictures of Major Boykai. Boykai has been everywhere. He knows how governments are run. He has run ministries. He has run agencies. So you can't tell me that he was not part of this government. He's not responsible for the massive theft. Joseph Boykai received monies, huge sums of money.
Joseph Boykai will make it only about Joseph Boykai.
No,
we're
not
lying, Mr. Gaiman. Let me say.
Listen, you can't tell me because I know how the budget runs.
Mr. Gaiman.
The man has the right to have an input from his office. But who told you that whatever went to public works, whatever went to the executive mansion, whatever went into the judiciary, Joseph Boykai had input inside?
Okay, Mr. C, go ahead.
Mr. Gaiman, I'm just being marveled by Mr. Tule's eloquence here. And truly, he's very eloquent, and he knows that I'm not being sarcastic. But the contradictions in his eloquence, his eloquence is just profound. Now, when we started this, he said Boykai had no input whatsoever in the budget. That was Mr. Tule's statement.
That's correct.
Now, when you press him just now, he said, well, he had input. So Tule got to be consistent here.
I am being consistent. The same thing. You see, that's another thing you can't even listen, guys.
All right, go ahead and interrupt me, Tule.
Listen.
Tule, Tule, I'm not gonna allow you this time.
This is not right.
I'm not going to allow you this time.
But you can't come and be making statement. Okay, go ahead.
So the discussion, when it's my time, I speak and you can, but you can't be interrupting me when I'm speaking. So let me go ahead here, and I will go back on topic. Mr. Gaiman, we're talking about the mansion. I'm glad Tule said, quite succinctly.
No, we shouldn't go back. Let's stick with Boykai because this is the issue you guys have raised. You always cast an expression on this old man. You try to diminish his personality whenever you have the opportunity, with unfairly too. And when it's been disingenuous. You know in your own heart that apart from the fact that the man was a placeholder, he had nothing to do with running daily government in Ellen government. The same way the present vice president has nothing to do with the daily running of the government. You were aware. But the vice president cannot order any minister in government. You were aware. You're aware that the vice president only operates at the behest of his boss. But you come here and you put a spin on it because you want to cast this man as somebody who is not fit for office.
In this discussion, if we should allow to be interrupting each other like this, then myself I will play.
Is not the issue. They're not an issue.
And then myself I will play that interruption game. But when I come to a Discord, I'll wait for my time and make my point. So, talking about Joseph Boykai here, you say he's a ceremonial head. The vice president said it's a ceremonial position. And that is the eloquence that you are submitting here. And that we should accept that. You even went further by saying that Kamala Harris has no role to play in the day-to-day activities of the American Senate. I get that point. But let me tell you, Tule, the vice president knows the players. Kamala Harris is a Democrat. Shimon, you're talking about is a Democrat. You talk about tiebreaker, and you say that is not a role, but you said that's the only role. The fact that Kamala Harris knows the issue, I will come to Liberia, and knows the Democratic players. She is in tune to the day-to-day activities. She is lobbying with the senators so that the presidential agenda, she was on the ticket. She is a vice president. You cannot separate her from Joe Biden. You can't do that democratically. No. That is why they ran on the same ticket. Let's bring understanding to this thing. She, in fact, is the eyes and ears of the president. And you tell me she does not know the day-to-day activity that she's not involved? She is involved in lobbying. I will learn to let. She's involved in lobbying with the senators to ensure that the Biden agenda succeeds. If you can say to me that Mr. Bwaka was not doing that during Ellen Johnson's time, that should not mean that other vice president will not do that. If Joel Howard Taylor is not doing that, it's on her, because she got elected on the ticket with George Weah. If it is happening because they are not having a rapport, you cannot say that with any vice president, and that is not the truth.
Okay. Let me say this to you. I would say that you are not reading, even you live in America, but you don't even read what happens in America. Simone Sanders had to leave her position of communication for Vice President Harris because of communication issue between the vice presidency and the White House. The fact that you are not even aware of this worries me. Because we're talking about,
that's a whole different topic.
No.
We were talking about the role of the vice president. Then you bring chief of office or communication director. We are talking about elected officials here. Tule, come on.
Tule, let me throw the light on this.
I will be as patient as I can be here.
Go ahead.
The issue here is this. We all know that the vice president work at the behest of his boss or her boss. No vice president dictates or mandates policy. No vice president has the right to send memos or give directives if the office of the president doesn't give you that right to operate. The vice president is that's why the vice president office is at the Senate. And the vice president stays there. The only function the vice president have is the only respect the vice president have in any given government is the respect that the president bestows on the vice president. In a place where you are dealing with a complete autocrat or complete authoritarian like Ellie, disguised authoritarian like Ellie, that wants to dictate down to the minutest details of how government function, what do you think will be left for the vice president to do? You want him to do what?
Okay.
Before you come in, let me tell you how Madam Salif operated when she had her legislative agenda to pass. It wasn't the vice president that ran in the halls of the legislature to ensure that the president's legislative agenda was passed. The president, she either had Maurice Duclé or Maurice Setoma, who's a senator today, to go with brown envelopes to lobby and get what she wanted to pass. She didn't even trust him. When Clarice Jar was chairman for the executive, when the president wanted something done in the Senate, it wasn't through the office of the vice president to the senators. Madam Salif called Clarice Jar to go to either her house or her office to sit down and talk, and then she handed her the directive that she wanted to do, whatever she wanted to get passed in the Senate. I'm telling you these things because I've spoken with these people. I've sat down with them face to face, and I've spoken with some of them about some of these things. The vice president had nothing. I'm not saying that the vice president was not opposition. He didn't enjoy amenities. He didn't enjoy his budget. Those were the trappings of his office. But I'm telling you, when it comes to the day-to-day running of the affairs of the Republic of Liberia, Joseph Boakai would never factor in the decision-making process.
Okay, now listen to this. Okay, listen to this. Let me give you some instances of the vice president and the presidential relationship. And I'm going to tell you because this is something that I know personally. When for the 9 months that I worked for the Barack Obama and Joe Biden camp, the reason that Joe Biden was picked as vice president was his knowledge of the Senate, the knowledge and the inner workings of government. That vice president job was he earned his respect. That the president brought him on to say, I have been member of the Senate. I have been chair of almost every other committees here. It is my job to make sure that the president's agenda from the budget to the Obamacare is carried through. You talk about, let's go back to Liberia. During the Toba administration, we have another person that I'm very close to, Bishop Benny Warner. But Bishop Benny Warner was vice president of Liberia, And as powerful as Talbot was, he was there. He knew what to do. He knew what to say. He knew what the Liberian people wanted. And he would be in the president's ear to set policies. So if you are telling me that Joseph Boakai did not earn his respect to even propose when things are going wrong, to tell the president, Madam President, even though you are my boss, but I think this is not right. And he just signed on, like, let's say the 68 concession agreement that Joseph Boakai signed on, because he was in the Senate at the time. Now, once did we hear in print or audio where he ever push back and say, Madam, these concession agreements are going to kill us. Let us not do this. And at a point, if a man who has principles, believe in Liberia and love Liberia and wanted to build Liberia, for that massive looting that was going according to him and according to you, I would have resigned and said,
you support George Weah. You support George Weah today.
I'm not George Weah vice president.
You support.
I am not vice president. I will not allow you to flip the point here.
Mr. Gimel, I think it's my time.
I am not vice president of George Weah.
I will make one statement before you come in. Let me tell you something. Joe Biden made one demand to Barack Obama. When Barack Obama asked him to be vice president, my friend.
What was that?
You in America, but
what was that demand?
Eyes are closed.
Tell me, what was that demand?
The demand was this: I will be in the room when the decision is being made.
Where is that in print?
You just you in front of a computer.
Post that.
No. I will not say anything.
Post that for us to see,
Mr. Gimel.
You can listen. So you are telling me Boakai was selected. He never said to the president, I want to be an active vice president. You want to tell me? No, you want to tell me Boakai never said anything to a president or even say,
that is not
if he elects me, I want to be a part of the administration?
We're talking about Joe Biden.
No, I was giving you an example. I gave you two examples. I gave you Benny Warner and Talbot, and I gave you Joe Biden and Boakai. And Biden and Obama. You are telling me that Joseph Boakai only accepted his position without making any demands or making any criteria.
Hey, Mr. Gimel, you mentioned Joe Biden here.
I mentioned also Benny Warner.
I'll come to Benny Warner, but let me push back on. Let me tell you what happened with Joe Biden.
Mr. Gimel, Tula is going for the second time, and I'm here to make my point.
Yes,
you have to monitor his show one at a time. Tula is speaking for the second time.
Mr. Tule, you are off point.
Wait for your time, Tula. It doesn't go like that.
You are off point. You are off point. Mr. Sear.
I will make this point.
Make your point. Because it's not I know Biden more than you do. Please put that particular demand in writing. Let us see it.
Yeah, but let me finish.
But no, post it so we can see it.
You didn't let me make the point.
Post it so we can see it.
Joe Biden told Barack Obama that I would be in the room.
I want you to post that so we can see it, because I was here. I helped in that campaign. I want to see it. I want to see it in writing.
But John, hold on. Let me finish making the point here. I will prove it to you later on.
No, not later on. I want we have access to it here. Okay, just tell me where is that so we can post it.
Okay, you see, anytime you get Joe Biden told Barack Obama that he was going to be a vice president of consequence when he was asked to be vice president.
Mr. Tule, where can we find that?
He told him that he would be in the room. He said, I have one demand. Excuse me. He said, I have one demand. I will be in the room when the decision is being made.
So Boakai didn't care whether he was in the room. Mr. Sear, go ahead.
That's not the issue.
Mr. Sear, go ahead.
Biden now.
Okay, Mr. Sear, go ahead.
You raised Joe Biden up, so I would
because I work it. Listen, Mr. Sear, go ahead.
You don't want me to talk, and I will talk. Joe Biden told President Obama, "You want me to run with you on your ticket? I ain't got problem, but I will be in the room when the decision is being made." The reason why he said that, because he knows that it is left with the president, the room the operation, the strength of the presidency, I mean, the vice presidency lies with the allowance of the president.
Okay.
Dick Cheney, I saw somebody mentioning Dick Cheney. It was Dick Cheney that made George Bush president in the first place.
Mr. Tule, go ahead.
Look, Tule said that I have been unfairly critical of Vice President Joseph Yimambwaka. He's entitled to that. I hold all leaders accountable. I don't remember him telling me that I have been unfairly critical of Joshua. I've never heard him say that. I've never heard him say I have been unfairly critical of Alexander Cummings. I've never heard him say I'm being unfairly critical of all the lawmakers that we have in the House today. The reason he's saying I'm unfairly critical on Bwaka is because he supports Bwaka, somebody he does not know at all. The only thing Tule will tell, I hope he will not interrupt me. The only thing Tule is going to tell us, I know this man. My father was with him. I sat with him. Everybody he knows, everybody he's having a conversation with. And, you know, those kind of statements are not going to fly as truth because they will be challenged. You know, there's a saying that action speaks louder than words. Mr. Bwaka, the test of his leadership that some people believe he has, we're seeing it today. This is a gentleman who has been around for a long time, and I will give it to him, has very impressive experiences about government. And what I know of leaders is leaders solve problems. Leaders don't sit by, they don't hide, they don't disappear when there are problems. Leaders rise up to the question to solve problems. Look at the CPP today. The excuse is going to be Cummings forged document. The excuse is going to be Liberty Party and ANC fighting. That is not Joseph Bwaka's business. Joseph Bwaka never said that. What Bwaka said was, I'm going to Monrovia. There was an international interview he was having. I have the track record of resolving issues. But yet they're going to make excuses. Now, his own party, he's running for president. There's no evidence that he's running for president other than that people are truly calling his name. What is the team? People in his camp call me and confide in me. There is absolutely nothing going on. And I'm not going to call names here. How often does Tule talk to people who are managing Joseph Bwaka right now? The last time I asked him, call one person who is in Bwaka's office. He won't even call one. Those of us who are privileged to know these individuals.
That's a blatant lie. You just lie on me.
Just call one to prove me wrong. Call one to prove me wrong. Call one.
Jake Tabakori runs the office. Joseph Bwaka Jr. helped Jake to run the office. What are you talking about?
So Joseph Bwaka has his son. You see the breaking news, Mr. Gibbon? You provided your answer. Joseph Bwaka's son is in his office.
But what do you expect? The man works somewhere else, but he also helps to run his father. Look, the man is.
I will not hire my son, no matter how clever he is. I will never hire my son. You see,
don't lie on me.
May I learn my point here? May I learn my point?
Let him land,
please.
Mr. Tule, let him land.
My point, please.
No, you will not land and lie on me. Then I will let you land.
No, let's see. Mr. Tule,
that I will say that I know somebody.
Mr. Tule, I thought you responded to that.
I saw him. I said, let's sit and talk about shit.
But Tule, I thought you did respond.
Head of the executive, but you're lying.
Mr. Tule, Mr. Tule,
my credibility is the only thing that I have.
Mr. Tule,
don't lie on me.
Mr. Tule,
what's wrong with you guys?
Mr. Tule,
don't lie on me. Look, listen.
Mr. Tule,
you are getting animated, man.
Build your character. You said it won't fly because I'm lying. You say I sat with people because I'm lying. I don't know nobody.
Nobody use the word lie.
For Anthony Cassidy.
Nobody use Mr. Tule. Nobody use it.
With you?
He said it won't fly. He didn't say lie.
This is beyond something you can't tell me.
Mr. Tule,
and I accept it.
Mr. Tule.
Don't take this conversation personal, man. Nobody talking national issues here.
Don't impugn my character.
Mr. Tule, nobody use the word lie out here. He said it won't fly.
But
My man, I'm not stupid. The implication is
no. Listen, don't read.
The implication is I'm
don't read.
misinforming.
When you quoting somebody, you gotta quote them verbatim.
Unacceptable.
You gotta quote.
I won't bite my tongue.
No, Mr. Tule, when you are quoting somebody, you gotta quote them verbatim. Nobody used the word lie. He said it won't fly.
Because I am lying, so it won't fly.
No, that's not what he said. That's not what he said. He never. If you want to draw inference, inference there.
I have high IQ.
You cannot do that. You cannot do that, Mr. Tule. You cannot do that.
You guys always do this.
Mr. Tule, you cannot do that. Okay, now, Mr. Tule, Mr. Land, let's go. Excuse me?
Don't try my credibility. The only thing I have to trade is my credibility.
Mr. Tule, your credibility also depends on how you defend and who you defend and what you defend. You are defending the indefensible. Your own word says, I defend George Weah, and George Weah at times, I'm defending the indefensible. That's what you told me. You said, I am defending the indefensible. So what's wrong with that?
To go through, right?
So what's wrong with that?
You decided that you're going to, because you know fully well that I will always defend. Listen, you know fully well that I will always defend the credibility. I will always defend the person of Joseph Boakai. Whether he becomes president of Liberia or not is a different situation. You know that, you're aware of it.
But we're not discussing Joseph Boakai here. We are discussing his inability to lead, his leadership. We're not discussing Joseph Boakai as the man.
Executive mansion, you said Joseph Boakai.
We are not talking about Joseph Boakai the man. We're talking about Joseph Boakai the politician, Joseph Boakai the leader, or the supposed leader. We are not talking the personality here. We are talking about issues.
He just said that it will not fly because I always say I sit with people. You know, let me tell you something. Go ask Buford Chimbos.
That's now, so, Mr. Tule, how long are you going to repeat yourself for others to contribute?
No, but how long are you going to do that? Myself, you will not cast expression on my person.
And you have said over and over again.
That's not true. That's not true. Mr. Sia, go ahead, so we can move on to number 2. Go ahead, Mr. Sia.
Go ahead, man.
Yeah, so this discussion, what brought Mr. Boakai's name in here is the executive mansion.
That's correct.
The executive mansion for 12 solid years could not be renovated completely to be used by our country, by the president. And we are saying Mr. Boakai was in a room when early ahead of government failed our country miserably. And the excuse here is that Boakai was a ceremonial head. So whatever went wrong, the massive corruption, the executive mansion was being used as a black cow for financial looting. And Mr. Boakai, who told us that we should love Liberia, could not show a semblance of love for our dear country, while the renovation of the executive mansion were being used as a black cow. And that is profound. And so to come here today and he's saying he wants to be a president, we have all legitimacy to raise these issues. And that is why Mr. Boakai must be part of the discussion. Mr. Boakai here being the former vice president and his bro, the stewardship that he provided for our country, we have to question those things because he wants to be country of this country. Now, Tule is on record for saying George Weah was a bobo senator. I agree. That in fact, some people call him President Weah a bobo president. Can we say Mr. Boakai is a bobo opposition leader because he says nothing when crisis is brewing within his own ranks and file? So how will he turn to a messiah when he becomes president, when even in his own political party, the CPP, there's this chaos, and he benefits from it, destroying the very CPP that they built. He raised the hand of, let me learn, Tule. He raised the hand of Brandon J. Samonka. The Samonka case, Ahmedin, is political. Have you heard Boakai to provide leadership that this is not going to happen? This man, Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, have given instruction for the money to be used. Ellen talked to CDC. CDC agreed. Joshua even paid a portion of the money. CDC somersaults, and now they denying the man his seat. That is political. That is his county. Waka is nowhere when it comes to leadership on the issue. If this man cannot fight for his own county, can he fight for Liberia? That is the question I want today to answer.
I'm not forced to answer your question.
No, you don't. I'm just saying.
It's not a matter of much that I respond
because it's a difficult one. It's a difficult one.
But I can respond to that.
I choose to ignore it. Let him go ahead and respond because
I can respond to that.
I find the question ridiculous.
Yeah, Mr. Sie, this is why you are the guru that runs the political hour. Someone told me that, Mr. Gaiman, do you know Anthony Sie? I said, yeah. They say, this guy is just like you. He eats and drinks and wakes up. It's all about politics, nothing else. He doesn't speak anything about engineering. He doesn't think anything. I say, well, you know, in life, people have a passion, and this is what he has. He loves politics. So yes, it makes sense. I know some of these things because I have disagreed with you on numerous occasions. You are very tough on my beloved president, the greatest president since 1822, President George Weah. I know you disagree, but we can prove it. Okay. And you guys have called him all the names, but we are still planning ahead. Yet and still, we have to, as much as I love George Weah and love to defend him, other people do have the right, okay, to bring out those things that they find to be repugnant politically, administratively. They have the right to bring those out. And to some degree, I accept that because it is a roadmap. President Weah should know that there are critics out here, and the critics are not always wrong. And this is where I differ with you. There are things that President Weah need to improve on. And when Anthony Sie, the Anthony Sie's of the world, the Anthony Sie's of the world, the George Tule's of the world, when they say these things about President Weah, he's listening. Those of us who have some semblance of relationship with him, we take this and say, listen, we need to do this, we need to do that. But we do not take it personally as Brother Tule does. He gets animated, he gets very upset when he thinks they are attacking.
Because this is not the topic of the day.
No, it is the topic.
No. Listen,
on now.
You guys will always do this, and guess what? Okay, you know what? The only reason why I get animated is because of the disingenuousness, and then also again the personal attack. You look at me and say, I sat with people and it won't fly. That's bull crap. I'll be honest with you. It's bull crap because you don't know me. You wouldn't have met me here on the show. You don't know my sphere of influence. You don't know the people I have met. You don't know the cycle I've run in. How will you look at me and say, oh, you say you met with this person or you sat with this person and it will not fly?
Okay, Mr. Tule.
No, Mr. Gaiman, let me speak on this one. When we come here, we have. I'm one of the most amiable persons anybody can ever meet. I love to laugh. I love to. People call me on the show and say, "Oh, why aren't people saying things you laugh and instead of it taking you up?" There are certain things that would take me up. One of the things that would take me up when I know that people are being disingenuous, intentionally disingenuous, and then when you also attack my person over what? You can say things about me, I won't mind. But when you attack my credibility, that's all I have to trade in. The only reason why people will listen to George today is because he has his credibility. Okay? That's all I have to trade. My credibility, bro. So when you start attacking my credibility and saying that I sat with a person, you said, to always saying he sat with it. Do you know how many persons I know?
Well,
do you know who was my? No. I just
everybody knows. Do you know how many? Do you know how many for Anthony Sie?
Okay, I would never just say you. See, Anthony Sie say he know that person. I said no, that lie. Anthony Sie is lying. You know the reason why? That's being immature.
But you just said. But you just called him a liar. You just called him a liar. Okay, Mr. Tule. Let's go to the next one here. I know you say there was no connection why we brought Joseph Boyka in. When we are talking about the renovation of the executive mansion, 20 years of appropriation, 20 years of squandering the funding.
You will always try to say Joseph Boyka is incompetent. if it's very funny. That's why I brought up your support for Judge Weah. You support Judge Weah, but you want question Joseph Boakai for being vice president to a complete authoritarian. It doesn't ring.
Listen,
disingenuous.
Mr. Tule, let me give you an example before we move on to the next stuff. When I was administrative vice president for EULA, this young man they call Steve Boley. Steve Boley and I got elected. He was a vice president for executive vice president. I was administrative vice president. And the guy who won the election that year, it's Koluba. When Koluba, we sent Koluba in 1990 to the peace accord in Bamako. When Koluba went to Bamako, we got word back from Tom Wowu and everybody else that while he was representing the United States, the diaspora Liberian, he went and slipped his resume to President Taylor, applying for a job. When that news got back to us, I called an immediate meeting. I called the chairman of the board, Patrick Rocks. I said, this is not what I signed up for. I am resigning as of today's date. This man is corrupt. I don't want to be a part of it. He called me. He said, you are vice president for administration. You want me in peace so you can become president because you are next in line. I told him, I said, with that belief, I do not want to be associated with anything that you are part of. Based on my principle, I resign as vice president of EULA, a very, very prestigious position at the time of the war. I did that because of principle. I'm saying this to say, Joseph Boakai knew,
doesn't have principles.
According to you, according to you, listen to this. You told me that he was working for an authoritarian. If he was working for an authoritarian, he should have resigned.
Yeah,
now let's go to the Bicentennial.
You disqualify him from leading the UP. You disqualify him from being a candidate on the electoral ticket. Your disqualification will stop him from being president. Can we move on? Because I'm tired.
Let's move on to the dedication of the we look at the Bicentennial in Liberia and the American delegation that was sent to Liberia, headed by our own Leonard Greenfield and the president of the Council of Churches from the United States. We are looking at this. At the same time, we are saying, what is the role of the opposition in this? So let's go. What do you make of, Mr. Shea, I'll start with you first. What do you make of the delegation sent by President Biden to Liberia and the significance of it at this time when other folks are calling for sanctions and thinking that Liberia is at the lowest ebb of our relationship with the United States?
Well, the news that the U.S. president Joe Biden, I gave him a crew name, by the way, I would say was sending the ambassador was something good. On the surface, I don't see how that will benefit or will have benefited Liberia, because I understand she's not coming again because of issue with Russia. And so that's why I said it that way. But let's say that, she were to come. Or let her also say that, okay, the fact that Joe Biden recognized this particular event happening in Liberia is a significant recognition. The history of Liberia and America, many of us are familiar with it, even if we don't know the details, right? So someone will say, well, this could be obvious, or it was obvious, or it's obvious that the U.S. will recognize 200 years, of this country, given the history that is there. So, but again, the Bicentennial itself, I am in between. I agree that this thing needed to be initiated. We understand and we read that Ghana did similar thing according to the year of the return, and there being significant revenue being generated. We have to be able to imitate. We have to be able to pick up things that are being done by other countries, that benefiting their country. I saw a ceremony happening in Sierra Leone at some point, And I'm like, Liberia, when you're talking about the return of the Africans, that were taken to the Western world for slavery and then returning to Liberia. Even when you talk about Pan-Africanism, Liberia, comes to mind. Liberia is even number one. I can argue that. And so for us to not have done that all the many years, and was a manias for us. But for some individuals to have said, look, we have to do this. I mean, I recognize that effort. But I condemn the idea that this thing was poorly done. First, it was initiated by some Liberians who saw the need and they could not do it in isolation of the government. So they approached the government. The government seized on it. That was the right thing for the government, to have done, to say, well, we'll seize on they will get involved. But the involvement to have taken it to the level that it became a partisan issue. And I know you asked the question, what is the role of the opposition? The opposition has no role. And in fact, talking about the organization, there's no diversity there. There's no involvement. I don't see our culture or Liberia being represented culturally in terms of the counties. I don't see that. Tule is more eloquent than I do. He can speak more succinctly to this. So I'm saying to say the idea was brilliant. The thought of initiating it was good. For the U.S. government, making a decision to send somebody was obvious. They needed to do so. But I mean, I really don't want to give it credence. I mean, I'm just trying to be political here. But the fact that this thing has become this failure, it is a failure. I mean, I will emphasize that it is a failure. We could have brought more Americans, more African Americans to Liberia if this thing was plain and executed perfectly. But as it may be, the idea of it was good. Maybe we have a head start. I hope any other government that will be picking on this thing will do a much better job than what we have here, because this does not represent Liberia. This is sad.
Mr. Tule.
I kind of like the whole show has gotten me off key right now, because, and I hope it won't happen again. Anyway, that one is behind the scene. We'll discuss that one, because I will establish my own threshold. I have my own level of containment for certain things, and after that, then it's okay. The issue of the bicentennial is a good idea. The reality here is, in the midst of it, um, it's just an idea that wasn't properly seeded. Um, People want to talk about how it lends to tourism, but it cannot really lend to tourism because we haven't done our homework. So I'm not even looking at the bicentennial. I'm looking at, if we want to invite people to our country to come and look, we gotta make sure that the place is up to par. It doesn't have to be fully developed, but it has to be clean, and it has to have some basic services and security, and some basic things need to be done, right? We started the conversation with the renovation of the mansion, and we couldn't even exhaust that one and look at all the facets. By the time I established the fact that Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, based on the question you asked me, even if you didn't ask me, the fact is the fact. Yes, Joseph Boga was a part of a government. The government stole money from the executive mansion or renovation project when they should have used the money. $15 million was too much to renovate the building. The whole building wasn't gutted by fire. It needed some basic renovation. Maybe $5 million or $10 billion could have done, could brought the building up to a modern standard. As soon as I mentioned that, the thing became the normal enemies of Joseph Boakai seized upon it to turn it into something else. But the reality here is, I don't even want to look at the bicentennial. I just want to look at all the different steps that will lead to such a Liberia being presented as a place where people can come and identify with their roots. We're not ready. The airport is in shambles. It's not the fact that with the hangar, I mean, the terminal is built. Yeah, the terminal is built, but the operation of the terminal turns people away. People are being suffocated in that place. Come there to spend 1 hour, 2 hours to be able to clear through customs. there are basic steps and basic things that need to be looked at. But I would say this: if we want our country to be a showpiece for people, to an attractive place that people in the diaspora, whether it's African Americans or even Liberians or other Black people, can come to, we have to sit down at the table of brotherhood as a nation and determine what we want to present out there. What is it that we want to sell out there to the international community? Because we haven't done that yet. We haven't sat down. All I see is shambolic attempts at something that could well represent us as a people. And don't forget, when you put up a banner and say "come," and people can know whether you did the best or you didn't even put a lot of effort into what you are doing. Okay, it's not just about fanfare, but it's about what translates down to the commonest man. All I see here is nothing but self-interest. All I see is nothing but self-interest and ability to steal money. That's all I see happening right now. Self-interest, the ability to steal money, nothing for the nation as a whole. Our country lies in ruin. Our people are drinking dirty water. The majority of our people are drinking untreated water on a daily basis. Even the electricity that we talk about providing in Liberia is not proper. Is the load shedding is terrible. Transformers get blown, they can get changed for months. See, these basic, small things that has to do with administration, that has to do with goodwill. Administrators having goodwill towards the people that are end of their service delivery chain. Okay, the basic logistics that have to do with stuff, the desire to be able to benefit the poor, the basic things that are lacking. So when you come to a big program like the Bicentennial, there's a disconnect. The poor cannot connect with it because that fanfare is only for those who have access. The common man doesn't. So it's something that he just don't he can really identify with. So for me, it's a whole waste of time. It's a waste of time because the little things that are overlooked, the garbage collection in the street. Somebody said, you don't need $500 million. When I was in Ghana, when the remember when the German GTZ gave some equipment to Ghana, the trucks and the beans to take all over Accra because it was mainly Accra. Accra had problem with pollution and dirt and stuff like that. And I was there when Jerry Rollins put this thing into play to be able to take care of those things. 1990, 1991. It was a serious drive to get the garbage collected and to move things. And they started doing it. It was very successful. All we need is to go to China and get some cheap trucks with beans and start moving things and get, build the first thing. The people who live on the Broadville axis, they're spending 3 hours to pass through 3-4 miles. Okay, why can't we put some of the money that we're spending all over the place instead of doing all these other roads that people hardly ever use? Let's deal with the traffic congestion in Monrovia first. Deal with some things, set things up, let the people's life become easy. Then you say let's celebrate Bicentennial. But anyway, you guys know better than me. And
Mr. Gimmer,
yes,
Mr. Gimmer, if you don't mind, I'll be brief here. And Tule, thank you. I think you spoke to very eloquently. And as Tule was speaking, this piece came to mind, right? The people that are coming, what impression are they going to get when they arrive? Based on what they will see. He talked about LEC. We continue to hear that, this day, it will be, let's say, oral. Or maybe a few hours, it will be oral. Then they will switch oral off. I mean, come to think about it. The pollution. When these people leave, when they see the poverty on our people's faces, that's another thing. How are they going to explain it to others? And would that make those people to want to go to Liberia? Did we take that into consideration? They will look at our police. If you see a police officer in the street, you will shed tears. I don't remember when last the police officers in Liberia got supply. I mean, but look at those in government, how, conspicuously they dressed. Look at the police. That is the face of the country. When they see a police officer, would they show respect? Would they pity that person? And would that be a good message that they will bring back to the United States? And would that encourage anybody to want to go to Liberia? And these are the things we're looking at. We say, look, this thing could have been done better. I recognize that this idea of wanting to do this is impressive, but we should not do it at our own peril, at our own detriment. And I think that is how it's been done. Thank you.
Well, you have a point there, but when I was doing the United Way training, when I was CEO, one of the things that we were trained to do was if you need funding and you need help, do not bring them to the beach side of the city. This is where the affluent live. You want to take them to the other side of the track where the federal government can see abject poverty, they can see suffering. So when we put in for money from the international or other folks, they will give it to us because we need it. But if you send them to the Hutchinson Island where, and I'll give you an example of Reverend Jackson, 1977, when he came to Liberia, Toba invited him. And when he got to according to him, when he spoke to us in Newark at Rutgers University in 1988, he says, he got to Liberia in 1977. He says the cars that he rode, the hotels, where he slept, the food he ate, the gold plates and all, he came back here and told Jimmy Carter, he said, they are living better than us. We African Americans in the United States, the people in Liberia, they are living in opulence. They do not need as much help as the people in Newark, New Jersey, as in Camden, New Jersey, as in Chicago, Illinois. So these folks coming to Liberia, we could use it, like you say, it's not perfectly organized because there's nothing perfect, but we could use it as an opportunity to tell Mrs. Greenfield that, listen, you came in here, you helped start this excuse me.
She won't be there.
Excuse me, it doesn't matter. The president sent a delegation. In fact, he sent his personal secretary, his administrative assistant. She's on there. So we are talking about somebody who is bringing news and report directly to the president's office. In fact,
she won't be there. That's all I was trying to say.
It doesn't matter. Okay, it doesn't matter at this point. The president is sending his administrative assistant. So we could use this opportunity to say, listen, we have done much, but more needs to be done. Before I move on to the next topic, 2003, I was in Liberia.
Listen to this. Before you move on to your topic, and I'm coming.
Yeah, I'm coming. I'll come to this. I was in the office, me and the American delegation, we were in the ambassador's office, John Blaney. And we stood at the office. We stood at the window. He said, Jerome, let me show you something. And the lady, the representative from Florida, looked and said, Jerome, this is embarrassing. This is not how cities should be built. And then she turned around. She said, Mr. Blaney, she said, this is an opportune time for us to do what we did during after the World War, where we brought civil engineering in, put everybody to work, and we tore down most of the blighted area. This is the time to actually create a commercial city, and if need be, an executive or administrative or city. Monrovia should be only a commercial city. So what they need to do is basically, let's say, create two basically runway, east, west, north, and south, and break down almost everything in sight. Then John Blaney said, do they have the stomach to do that without creating another civil war? Can you go to Nuku Town and say, we are going to bulldoze the whole Nuku Town, we're going to relocate you because we want to do this? So those are the things. Our city was awkwardly built. It was not built for what we are seeing now. We are only, what I'm seeing here from the periphery, we are only chipping here and there, but that city was not built for 1 million folks, and it's going to take a while for us to do what some of us are saying. When you talk about garbage collection, we cannot just pick up garbage and dump it. We need waste management. We need to build waste management.
Waste management is not the only issue. The main issue here is You cannot invite people when your house is dirty. You can
It doesn't matter, Mr. Tule.
Hold on now.
You cannot say the city is going to be like Dubai before we invite
Nobody
people. That's not how it works.
To make the city like Dubai, but you got to put your ducks in a row before, because when you invite up, you can't just invite people to a dirty house. You have to put things in order before you invite guests. The difference here is this. Nobody had really thought about this. The one time they did this, I think once, it was basically a show of self-interest. It wasn't really to have the kind of long-lasting impact that was so desired. Mr. Gaiman, to do anything, whether it's George we are president or any other person becomes president, we must come to the table of brotherhood. The first thing that was supposed to be done regarding this bicentennial was to bring the Liberian people together first to determine what we want. And to do that, it has to be from the perspective of a realistic outlook on things. Everything needs to be enumerated, laid out, and everybody see it, and then come to a conclusion on what we want as a people with all honesty and sincerity. One of the things that afflicted Madam Salif's government and is afflicting this government equally is the lack of transparency and the lack of honesty when it comes to governance and the processes that goes into it. They think that they just have to lie to the people instead of coming to the people and telling the people these are the realities and these are the constraints and these are the constraints, these are the alternatives, and these are the assumptions. And based on these things, we have to make these choices, and we need you people on board. It becomes a dialogue. It becomes a private-public initiative. The poor own it. They can identify with it because they know that you're not divorced from them. They know that you treasure their input. It is very important in the governance process. What has been happening in Liberia is this. The people up there, they sit up there, they make all the decisions even for the poor without even getting the input of the poor. The only time that the poor is needed, the poor inputs is needed is when it's the time for casting votes, ballots. Until then, the people don't go back to the people. We need to come. Look, sincerity must come into our governance process. Before calling strangers to come to our house, we need to call our house meeting first and look at where we are now. Government can do everything. People always say that, and I agree. But government can take the leadership to get things done. Government can ensure that the private sector, and not only the private sector, the general citizenry can partner with government to achieve some things. Like, even, let me be honest with you, even the cleaning of the city. You know the reason why people don't care whether the city, they want to throw their garbage or how they mess things up? Because they don't feel any ownership in anything that is going on. They feel that they are an afterthought, Mr. Gaiman. When people feel they are an afterthought, they will never identify or they never take ownership. So to start off, this whole thing is a sham. I agree, it's a bust. It's not going to help anybody. To help anybody, we got to come together, stop taking advantage of the poor people and say, hey, let's come together and see how we can change this city. Let me say this to you. The one time we were on the show here, I told you, I said how we need to get a legacy funding, okay, a couple of $100 million. You can get it through investments, and you can clear out that entire Bushra Island all the way to Nuku Town and after Nuku Town, okay? The Island Clinic community. You can clear up that entire area. We have fallow lands up on the banks of the Simpo River on the other side. And those tracts of land, hundreds or thousands of acres lying fallow, owned by individuals who are there and their relatives are in America. Some of them are not even come back. They're selling it piecemeal. Government can use a process of acquiring those lands and building housing estates on those lands, okay, and being a blessing to the people, move the people from these areas and turn these areas into commercial holdings, hotels, shopping malls, and everything that would change the landscape of Monrovia and affect the lives of the people positively. But how can that be done? If you don't go to Nukutan and tell the Nukutan man that it is in your own best interest that you go to a well-planned community that we are building, low-cost housing community that you're building, and we'll create a scheme that you can make that will make it affordable for you. They will push back against you. So these are the things. So I don't see, I see us placing the cart before the horse and not attacking any of these things from a very realistic perspective. So, it's a waste of time.
And finally, Mr. Gibbon, because Tula talk about Negro Town, I live there. Negro Town is one of the communities in Liberia or Monserrate County that is perfectly laid out. Anybody from Negro Town will tell you that. After every 2 blocks, I think 1 block, there is a row. So Negro Town is laid out. So he used Negro Town as an example. I will accept that. But for me, coming from Negro Town, I think he said it because he didn't know that Negro Town was outlet. Negro Town is outlet, so Negro Town is not the best example or to use. And finally, here also, you see that the rape cases, these people that are going there now, they are there. All they're going to hear about is 13 years old being raped. Police officers are being raped by their police bosses. That's the kind of news that we'll be leaving Liberia with. That is bad news for us.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, a quick reminder here. Right after our show, we should have had another show called Primetime Sunday. But because of the Super Bowl, we know you need to go and watch the Super Bowl. And the management of this establishment understands that. So they have postponed the Primetime Sunday to tomorrow at 7 o'clock because the topic is very important. That particular topic, the arts of history, we wanted to discuss it in detail, and we wanted people to have an input. Most people are saying, is there a difference between history and political science? We know there's a very thin line, and we want to discuss that in detail. I don't think we want to have time to do that while the Super Bowl is on. So I agree with management. That show is now tomorrow at 7 p.m. That will be Primetime Sunday. But if it won't be Sunday, it will be Monday. But the topic is the arts of history. So we want you to be aware of that. We want to go to the next topic here real quick so we can go to our comments.
We don't have the time for that topic right now. I wanted to say something to what Anthony said. Anthony, nobody say Negro Town is a shanty town. You can't say that it's laid out. And what I saw in Negro Town that made me to add Negro Town to that thing was the fact that you don't have the kind of latrine facility in Negro Town. People going to the beach. I went to a house in Negro Town that is a nice house all the way to the end towards the Douala Market end there. But when I wanted to urinate, and I asked the people to say, "Oh, you can go behind there to go urinate." And I went and I saw a pile of sand, and the children were toileting in the sand, and people were covering the toilet, with more sand. And I got dismayed that people will live like that. And I remember somebody that I knew lived not far from there.
Nearly everywhere in Monrovia, people live like that. So
Monrovia doesn't have
that is not unique only to Negro Town.
Agreed.
Even in Cinco, people are doing that.
Of course.
It's not as prevalent in Cinco as it is on Bushra Island.
So what are you saying?
What I'm saying is everywhere that I said, from West Point, Clara Town, even the Slipway, going all the way across, passing Freeport, that Doe community, going out, they're polluting the Stockton River, they're polluting the Stockton Creek, they're polluting the Monserrate River with all the excrements that are placed in there.
I get your point, and it's happening in every community in Monserrate County. Almost every community. So do not lay your emphasis on these communities.
You are saying the government should use eminent domain to move the folks?
No, before you can move them, you must first create housing for them. You can't just go demolish people's houses and take their land. You got to create an alternative for them. And the way to do it, that, like I said, Poor River, up the St. Paul, going to Attington, behind Attington, the Swan Mecca District Road. Those are areas that can be used. Those places are forests today. People are selling the land gradually. The government can buy some of those land and start to build low-cost housing estates, well-planned estates with school, playgrounds, sporting facilities, everything for the communities and religious, everything that a well-planned community, low housing community, and start moving people from these places into there. And then what you do, Take for instance, if the land at Nuku Town, apart from the erosion and which can be taken care of the erosion of the coastline, it can be taken care of with dredging and building seawall. Those places can be turned into prime real estates, and those people can be moved into places where they can breathe, fresh air, where they can live and they can raise their kids in places the kids can have playground and they don't have to be in excrements. They don't have to go to the beach to go and men and women all lined up on the beach easing themselves. It's not because
Mr. Tule, before we move on here, let me bring you back to an article that was written in 2011 by the New York Times. And what it says is the guy says while he was in Monrovia, he saw from the president's office at the foreign ministry, women, grown men and women could be clearly visible. So we're not going to talk about Nuku Town here now. We talk about the president's office, the foreign ministry. You could be on the 14, whatever.
It's not happening there again.
That's why he said
it is not happening there again.
We're lining up and within their ear and eyesight of the executive mansion where the president lives. He said the president herself could look down and see people.
It is not happening
there.
Again,
So I'm going to say that it is not a matter of nuclear, it's a matter of providing the facility. So it's not a location, it's the administration, it's the government lack of being responsive to the needs of the folks. Now we're going to go to
the Mr. Gamer, if you go to the capital now.
Because what I'm stating,
Mr. Tule, please.
If you go to the capital, what the government provided,
if you go to the Capitol building.
I'm saying it's a prevalent issue.
That's fine.
If you go to the Capitol building, if you go to the Capitol building,
go ahead, Mr.
if you ask for a bathroom, I've heard stories where people went to the Capitol building, where we have our senators and representatives. You ask for a bathroom, they will tell you go downstairs. There's a continuum there. Go behind it and ease yourself. So to point out Nikru Town, where I'm from, it's almost like saying that, well, it is happening everywhere else, but Nikru Town is where West Point is west. No, everywhere is just bad. It's just bad at the executive mansion. It's bad at the House of Representatives and even at the Senate. Even at finance ministry, some places you go there, you can't get bathroom. So let us not use Nikru Town as an example. Because as a person from Nikru Town, it's like it's only happening in Nikru Town, and I take zero offense to that.
I agree with you 100%. Now listen, let's go.
Mr. Gaiman, in the past, I brought up the same idea. You never push back because he wasn't here. Today, you pushing back because I mentioned Nuku Town. I have mentioned Nuku Town here. I've talked about this particular idea here on the program.
Nikru Town is here now and pushing back.
I didn't want to mention Nuku Town, and now once have you pushed back.
Listen to this, Mr. Tule,
against it.
Mr. Tule.
Now,
Mr. Tule, you were here the last time when I said, I don't
know what to make about this.
If you were here, you would have heard me say there is this myth about people saying everywhere you go, can anything good come out of Nuku Town? I said that is the myth. But when you look at the amount of giants, educated folks that have come out of Nuku Town, that shouldn't even be a question anymore. I've said it over and over. But let's go to comments.
Mr. Gaiman, hold on. Yes. My best teachers at Banga School of Theology came from Nuku Town. Okay? Came from Nuku Town. Most of them were educated at the Vatican in Rome. They had their masters. Some of them had doctorates. These guys were highly educated. That is not the issue. The issue here is, I said to you, and I will say it for our listeners to hear us, the entire Bourgeois Island lack these services. We're talking about
the whole Liberia, not just the Bourgeois Island.
Can we go to the comments? Mr. Tule is about to repeat himself. Let's go to the comments because of time.
We're talking about making the city presentable.
So the whole city.
I've said to you many times that we need to move this population and turn
Mr. Gaiman, can we read the comments?
Prime real estate into something that can be used to create jobs, build hotels, build businesses and everything. All
Mr.
across
Kemela,
Neutral
move
Island.
on. Mr. Tule said
Thank
that
you very much.
earlier.
Let's go to the comment section here. After the comment section, we are going to go to another topic that Mr. Tule doesn't like briefly. And that topic is the former senator from Maryland County, Mr. Bowler, says he warned Joseph Boyka that if Joseph Boyka leave the CPP, it would be his death sentence politically. He will lose massively. We'll discuss that, but let's go to the comment. I think this guy is Jack Scholar. It's politics, Mr. Tule. People can criticize Boyka all they want. Stop taking things so personal. Let's go to the next. Dave Cully, you yourself failed the country. Soklo Te, the celebration is a year long. It is in phases. I agree. Fretus, she's not going to Liberia. Liberia on the highest criminal list. The CDC and President George Weah with his criminals gang, GANK. Okay. Lena Addison Odland, side, everything is politics. Since you know best, why didn't you go and do it? All Liberian has a big mouth. Thomas Awaji, the whole place is in total darkness as we speak. Eva Michelle Saley, was it better 12 years ago? She's thinking about Liberia. Okay, then we got Stanley Freeman. Guys, are you all going to attend the Bicentennial? Yeah, we attended in Washington. Dave Cully again. All these so-called smart Liberians outside there eating French fries and burgers are disappointing to our country. Hey, man, stay away from the burgers for healthy reason. Thomas again, if people go to Liberia and get sick, there are no decent medical facilities. Crime is on the rise. Eva Saley again. So reopening the executive mansion is self-interest? Asking that question, my friend. Senior, I don't know why I hate this guy analysis. I don't know which one, but he hates somebody.
A different person.
Huh?
By his opinion, the good thing about it is like all like gnosis, everyone has.
Infant Benny, your opposition didn't put nothing in place in the first place. Kudos to President Weah. He's doing his possible best. Aaron Vasily, can you name me one crime-free country in the world? None. Kim said, and Tule, you believe that Sleepy Joe will be the best fix to fix the things you complain about? Eva again, did you put anything in place before the corrupt government took over? Thomas again, President William V. Thomas spent $8 million United States dollars to build the executive mansion. Benny, you keep complaining, George. We will keep working. Dave Colley, I think it's time for collective hands and not just sitting and begging the government. As Isaac Kofa, we don't have a police answering. We have a military group, a militia group. Eva again, have you both contributed in any way? I think so, man. What we are doing is contributing to the development of our country. Matthew Winnie, so you will wait for government before you take care of yourself as a human, or you need to do something for yourself. I mean, I think he meant all. You need to do something for yourself. Richard Tonier Parba. But you guys haven't seen anything yet. Y'all look down too much on this man as if he wasn't the one who brought war and destroyed the country. But President Weir will keep putting a big shame on your faces. Thomas, what difference will the administrative assistant make? The U.S. embassy is already there. They report back to the American every day. Well, Mr. Thomas, if you don't know how, okay, anyway, if you don't know how the administrative thing work and the administrative assistant work directly, when you talk about proper and improper channel of communication where the president can say, well, did you see this? Did you hear that? You don't say that to the ambassador, but you can say that to your secretary. Or Cotto, I see George Toole is so interested in this topic. When they start on JMB, he starts to cry. Mr. George Toole cry baby. George Toole, they're on your case today.
They're on their own case.
Asakofa, Liberia is a failed state. We are not using our foreign officers effectively. Why do we have to hire lobbyists when we have ambassador with plenty to do? What? Yeah, in Washington, D.C., U.S. Your father, JMB, wasn't transparent when he was squandering the monies for 12 years, my man. That's F. and Benny. Rachel again, Liberia's senseless war that destroyed and killed innocent Liberians and pushed our country backwards instead of going forward started just like this in the past. Tamba, watching from district number 6, Nuclear Town, focus on Liberia. Thank you for watching, my friend. Okay. Your House of Representatives are flushing their toilets with buckets. Those so-called representatives doesn't have a cafeteria. How do we go from the toilet to the cafeteria? So, Mr. Toole, let's go to the. Okay, let's. We still got more.
Yeah. Let me respond to something that came out of that thing.
Okay, LOL. What are you made of, Toole? LOL. Smash my hair because people talk about white guy. Get over yourself. Laugh out loud.
Mr. Gimen,
Yes.
I'm not gonna give credence to comments that people don't understand my passion for something. I'm a very passionate person, and I don't hide. I say my mind and I speak it, and damn the consequences. That's who I am. The issue here is when you target somebody. I just want to be. When I'm arguing, I want to be fair. I like to be fair on every side. I'm against Cummings, but I would never argue and just say everything without acknowledging both sides of the argument. Even when I'm presenting my argument against Cummings, I must be able to acknowledge both sides of the argument. So that's me. But some people don't acknowledge both sides. To them, when they're not in favor of somebody, everything about the person is bad. Two of you right here are like that. So let's the issue. Of course, you are like that. That's who you people are, and you spin or we still have a conversation. You took it to Joe Buckeye. It's okay. Next time I will come better prepared to be able to.
Tule is still crying. Jesus Christ.
I'm not crying. I'm
can you believe this?
But anyway,
this
the
thing?
issue of the national legislature not having, flushing toilets and public restrooms that people can go into ease themselves is not only troubling, but it also speaks to the lack of good leadership. And I sat down, I thought about it. I used to work at a place, and it was in my department. My department was responsible for making sure not only the office, but even the residences where we rented homes for people, that we had consistent water supply going to those places with the water trucks, that the people didn't run out of water in the night, in the middle of the night in their homes. So it was our responsibility to make sure, part of the logistics, to make sure that those residences on Maba Point had water 24/7 for the people, so that we didn't get caught in the middle of the night that one of the expats apartment ran out of water in the middle of the night. The reason why I'm saying this is this. There are companies in Monrovia that have trucks. All they need to do is to, in their plenty budget, I don't think it will even cost up to $100,000 a year or even $200,000 a year to make sure that there is 24/7, there's water running in that building 24/7. It is a non-negotiable issue. It's a shame on us. That's some of the things I'm talking about. We're talking about Bicentennial. When we don't even have public toilets in Monrovia, we're talking about Bicentennial. When we don't even have functioning public toilets in the national legislature.
Mr. Tule, government cannot wait for one department to be perfect before things happen. They all happen together. Somebody just mentioned here, what you were alluding to, that President Weir has built several houses in the VOA area, and they are now having problem with people actually accepting to be relocated there, just like they're doing in the market here. You build beautiful markets and you have all the amenities there, and people are so accustomed to selling in the street that they're having problems just abiding by law to go into the market to sell because they're accustomed.
No, don't blame the people. You blame the typical Liberian people. Let me tell you the reason why you see the women in food. They can go on own tables. They own the table. They must have their kids with the platters of food selling outside because the buyers are the ones that have the problem. They don't want to go in the store.
That's exactly what she said.
They don't want to go in the store to go and buy stuff. So as a result, the people forced to create this thing where they have children selling for them on the outside. It's a Liberian problem. But Mr. Jamie, let me say this before answering comes in. If you create ownership, create a dialogue, create a plan of action where you engage the people and try to resolve these things through education, sensitization.
Mr. Tule, they have been done. I have seen. I have seen the meeting with the marketing association, the pimping boys, the taxi driver, the folk. The lady said today, I'm sitting in the market. People coming to buy, they don't want to get out of the car. They call in the fish girl, the water boy to their car and they buy it. They're so lazy. They don't want to even get out and go in the place to shop. They will call the folks. These are things that entice people to sell on the street.
And you know what happened, Mr. Gayman, for
the government now have to get in there and get very, very proactive and get very, very strong.
Government wants it to happen. Like for instance, at Douala Place, you jail people and you fine them for buying outside. You create stringent laws. They will go inside.
Mr. C, in closing, we left touch briefly on, I know we got 5 minutes here. Mr. Ballard, the former senator, warned that Mr. Boykai or anybody in the CPP going alone, it is a recipe for disaster and they're going to lose massively. And he warned Dr. Boykai, do not leave the CPP. What is your take on what former Senator Ballard is saying?
Mr. Gayman, thank you. I know the discussion has been so spirited. I will give my closing to leave. You guys where I'm on vacation. I travel. I will not speak to anything concerning Mr. Boykai. I don't want my very good friend Tule to get animated again, because when it comes to this subject of holding politicians accountable, I don't hold back. I don't apologize. I don't feel sorry for them because I care about the country. I know Liberians have not gotten a good deal, and it's more so because of the politician, and that is why I take a tough stand on all of them. For some people, like Boykai, I will acknowledge that, yeah, I am more tougher on Boykai than I am tougher on Cummings. But I am also very much tougher on Weir. The guy myself comes from the same town. This is a crew guy. I go at him even. Some people question whether I'm a crewman or whether we come from the same town. Tule doesn't cry when I do that. Only when it comes to Boykai, then he's crying. Now, if you want me to make any further point on Boykai, I will be I don't want my friend to cry, so I want to say thank you. I think we had a very good discussion. That would do it for me. And I hope that Tule, you guys will invite me the next time I have time to join you on Point. I think I was on point. Tule was not on point, and I think Mr. Gayman was on point. Let Tule make all effort to get back on point on the issue. You throw little giant, get under the man's skin. Oh, Sonny, how you dare you say that to me? How you dare you say that to me?
Mr. Tule.
Look at you.
So, gentlemen, thank you.
I just
Great
mentioned
discussion.
You get off your high horse, Anthony.
Mr. Tule.
I just mentioned Newtown in a plan to urbanize Monrovia because that entire bourgeois area and shanty towns. I just mentioned Newtown. You got defensive. So everybody,
I defended it.
Let me ask you a question.
I didn't go off the rails like you went off the rails.
You want to act like you are free from defending something that is precious to you. Let me tell you something.
No, we all defend things, but the way we do it.
Joseph Boga is not only a politician. The areas that you mentioned, if you say something truthful about Joseph Boga, you would never hear me arguing against it. I'll give you a common example. You mentioned the fact that Joseph Boga had not spoken vocally. He hasn't been very verbal in the issue of Browning Samuka. Did you hear me counter it? You should know me. The areas I feel you are being unjust and unfair, I will defend it to the last. But the areas I know that you are speaking the truth, you will not even hear me say a word. Did you hear me counter you when you said Joseph Boga did not speak regarding the Browning Samuka thing? He hasn't spoken verbally, he hasn't been vocal regarding the CPP issue to inform the people and enumerate steps that he's taking or he's not taking or why he chooses to stay back. These things, whether he likes it or not, he is the opposition runner. Hold on, Mr. man.
Somebody just nominated you for president right here. You got one vote.
The man is the opposition front runner, whether you like to acknowledge it or not. He must be heard on issues. It is an imperative. So the times that he's done speaking on issues, you will never hear me come and say I'm defending it. But I hate unfairness. Even if it's Cummings, I'm not for Cummings. But if you are unfair against Cummings, I will stand to protect his right. I don't agree I just wrote a book. I castigated the book. But guess what? I defended his right to his liberty and his freedom. That's me. I'm not a hypocrite.
Listen to this.
I'm speaking to that issue. You're not the first person to
listen to this.
Have conversations about it. And I'm saying that it is wrong for him not to stand and say, I defend Browning Samuka. Why is the government doing this to Browning Samuka? I even hold the Supreme Court feet to the fire. That's me for you. So I'm
Mr. Tule. Mr. C.
I'm not crying. I'm defending my point.
Mr. Tule, we got you. Mr. C. We got the information from cyberspace somewhere that all along you were one of the board from Grand Crew that are receiving the $25,000 a month. Now you're on vacation. We hear you in London. You got a private suite. Here we are. We're sitting over here. I don't even have water to drink. And you on vacation. You're getting your 25 grand. You did. But somebody just accused you, say you are hard on Joseph Boakai, but you are very disrespectful of President Weah. What you do to him is worse than disagreeing or being hard. You are just disrespectful. And then another one said, if Tule were running for president, Tule got one vote and you got nothing. So Tule, there you go. You can run.
So Tule is winning. And to that person who said, I show no respect for President Weah, I respect the person and I take that comment from the person. But look, President Weah, I will continue to hold you accountable. That's the word I use. That is no disrespect. President Weah can do better than what he's doing. And when he does better, it's good for him, it's good for the country. And that is what I want to see. So until he meets my satisfaction, and I'm talking about me and I'm talking about you, until he meets my satisfaction, I will continue to be on his back. Liberians deserve better. Liberia deserves better, and I'm not sure President Weah is giving us his best. And to the person, if he and myself went to Liberia today to say, oh, we both of us want to see Joshua will want to see me and would not want to see that person.
How sure are you? That's an assumption. Constraints.
Yeah, I agree. That assumption. I'm just assuming. I'm just assuming. I agree with you too. I'm just assuming.
On fire. They say you should run for mayor or Monrovia. Man, you already somebody.
Mr. Gaiman,
over here.
Mr. Gaiman, let me say something here. The reason why I have not spoken against Joseph Boakai, now that I have not heard it, people have had conversations with me regarding the targeting of Brandon Samuka, and I have not spoken. Nobody will ever go on my Facebook page. Nobody will ever see me speaking or castigating the government's action against Brandon Samuka. There are reasons for that, and one of the reasons is when this man was Minister of Defense, the man was terribly corrupt. He did a lot of things that denied the people, the people in the military, from a lot of good. Brandon Samuka had, if you drove on the highway, you would see all those pickups and trucks parked. And Brandon Samuka was collecting the fuel, the diesel, for those monthly allotment, because once they have a car, they must have the allotment for it in the budget for that vehicle to be running. It's not supposed to be parked. Brandon Samuka was collecting that money and diverting it to his pocket. He did all kinds of things. He was sending individuals outside of the military to China and other places on military scholarships. I know about all of that. So the Brandon Samuka issue, for me, I can't support him. And okay, Joseph Boakai supports Brandon Samuka, but then you gotta go back again deeper and see the relationship between Brandon Samuka and Joseph Boakai. And guess what, Mr. Gaiman? The reality here is Joseph Boakai only became vice president because of Brandon Samuka. You see? You listening to me, Mr. Gaiman? He only became vice president because of Brandon Samuka. Okay? Because Brandon Samuka was the one that worked it out. He was one of those that worked it out. So there's a lot of quid pro quo in Liberian politics, and you can't divorce it. And I told somebody last time, like for instance, I have major disagreements with Musa Belete. Cummings floats with Musa Belete. I don't fault Cummings for the establishing relationship with anybody. What I fault Cummings for is allowing those you establish relationship with to dictate your policies and the strategies that you implement in your political sojourn. Then I know that you have a problem. There's something to have relationship. Everybody must have relationship, Mr. Gaiman. But when you start having a relationship with nefarious characters and you allow them to dictate your policies and the strategies that you implement, then I will stand back and fold my hand, and then I will doubt your reasoning capacity. That's the difference. Is this right? I will support his right, but I will also say, okay, then I question your right, because you have the right to have relationships, yes. But if you know the person is a shady character and the person is going to have a negative influence on your outlook, then think about it. But you create a relationship with shady characters, then you go one step further after creating a relationship with these shady characters and allowing them to formulate and implement policies for you.
Thank you, Mr. Thule, for a spirited debate. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for spending your time with us. Big thank you to our CEO and the technicians for keeping us on while the Super Bowl is ongoing. We see you next week, same time, same channel, same topic. Liberia is what we have. Liberia will have in common. Opposition, imposition, leadership, you name it. We are all Liberian. See you next week, Sunday, same time. God bless.
We are Liberian. Liberia is our